Good.
There it goes. Excellent.
Hi, this is Ed Rising, and welcome back to Ed's Pop-O-Matic podcast, a retro pop culture podcast where everything retro beats the new when you keep it in your heart. And today, very much in my heart, are the Beatles. And we have four wonderful guests with me, rather panelists with me, that we're going to discuss the upcoming um, Everything Fab 4 event festival that'll be taking place in Asbury Park, New Jersey in November. I said that right. Amazing. Okay. So my guests this evening are Susan Ryan, Kid O'Toole, and Kenneth Womack. All very prestigious people in the Beatles world. And so I'm going to ask them each to talk a little bit about this upcoming festival and what their plans are to be part of it. Ken, would you like to go first?
Sure. The idea behind it is to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Rubber Soul, which is, I guess, 5 years away from a retirement that will never come because it's one of the greatest albums of all time. We won't be getting together to try to solve that conundrum because we already know it to be true. But rather, it will be a way to celebrate the record and all of the ways in which it still sings to us in terms of musicality, in terms of lyrics, in terms of the great turning point for the Beatles. It's a remarkable moment where um, uh, they really find their mettle as artists. They probably always thought of themselves in their hearts as artists, but Rubber Soul is that moment where it becomes indubitably clear. And of course, every album after that proves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was asked recently about why do we keep talking about the Ed Sullivan Show? We keep talking about the Ed Sullivan Show because the Beatles did this amazing thing. They show up on our shores. We make a big hoopla about them. And it is no pop cultural blip, right? The thing that happens because of this magnificent moment is that they make good on it. And they start with, you can argue about which album is that a magnificent turning point, but they're all in this kind of upward trajectory. And from Rubber Soul on out, it is a straight line upward. It's just remarkable. So to celebrate, we'll have great scholars like my two colleagues here. Kit is giving 31 talks, I believe, at this point. But that's okay because you can never have too much Kit. She's
That's
the
right.
queen of all Beatles media.
That's right.
So that's very important. But also, we'll have folks talking about just about every aspect of this record you can imagine. From the one of my favorite talks certainly is going to be the one about the tambourine,
Mhm.
right? The omnipresence of the tambourine, the Beatles' incipient feminism, right?
Mhm.
It's no surprise that Drive My Car and Norwegian Wood are on this album. They have something to say in that regard too.
Yes.
The influence of Bob Dylan, we could go on all day, but then we'll also have an array of really interesting artists celebrating the album too. Friends of ours from the Fest for Beatles fans, Black Rabbit,
Mhm.
who incidentally do the theme for my podcast.
Oh,
Um,
really?
they're paid, don't worry, but but they do a wonderful job. And in fact, when it comes to Beatles cover bands, they'll blow your doors off, right?
Yeah.
In fact, Kit and I were signing books one year, and they started to play, and like gravity, everybody was just sucked out of the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
I think Kit was just holding a pen in midair. Anyway, they're magnificent. My colleague Scott Fryman is going to deconstruct Rubber Soul. We'll have old friends of ours like Mark Lapidus will be there to do a Wings listening session, Bruce Spicer. But we'll also have other musical acts like Max Weinberg, the exemplary drummer for the E Street Band, and he'll do a few numbers with his frequent collaborators, the Weaklings, who I'm going to give a spoiler here. So, spoiler alert, who are planning to showcase both the American and the UK Rubber Souls. So, buckle up for that.
Nice.
And then we have the magnificent Magical Mystery Girls, the Black Ties, and Nellie McKay, who was one of the last albums produced by Jeff Emerick. He made her debut.
Yeah.
And then finally, Jake Clemens, Bruce's tremendous saxophonist will be with us too. So it's going to be quite an array of folks. And
Will Clarence, Jake Clemens and Max be playing it together?
I don't know that they will. We always welcome it, but I don't know that they will. But I do know this: they will play songs from Rubber Soul, and I think in several cases they will demonstrate just how elastic these great songs are. And I fully expect that we will hear and experience them in new and different ways. And
It's always interesting to hear these different bands interpret the songs in their own style or their whatever their musicianship might be. For instance, I recently saw uh, string bands, classical music group, string quartet, and they came out and they played several songs from the Beatles, and it was a very different type of interpretation of that music that you don't normally hear, and it gives you the opportunity to listen to the song. Because sometimes when you listen to the song, the Beatles track or whatever, you hear it and you're thinking about what that song might mean to you, or a memory or something else or whatever, but you don't necessarily always listen to the actual melody or the transition or whatever. And so sometimes when you do hear it from a tribute band or whatever, or somebody that's a specialty type band, um, it's interesting. It's just an interesting way of hearing the music again.
You bet. I was teaching Rubber Soul this last week in my Beatles class here at Monmouth University on the shore. And after we talked about the incredible song Girl, I brought up the way, and they knew this because for many of them, it's a gateway moment with the Beatles. I brought up the Across the Universe movie, which has that magisterial opening scene where the lead character sings, "Is there anybody going to listen to my story?" And suddenly that song takes even darker hues on in terms of, the kind of tragic portents that
Yeah,
exist inside that composition.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Susan, you're familiar with the Light of Day organization?
I'm not sure if I am. Please elaborate.
Okay, so from what I read about them, they are the organization that funds from the EFAB4 event. Will they'll be setting a portion of funds from that event to this organization, Light of Day, which is a foundation for Parkinson's research
Oh,
and
good.
ALS and this and that.
That's great.
So I think it's a really cool um, association.
Yeah.
And Max Weinberg, because Springsteen has been involved with Light of Day, I was under the impression that might have been the connection as to how Weinberg might have gotten involved, or
Ken?
Jake Clemens. I don't know.
No,
Ken?
we just invited them, for we love being part of their community out here. And when it came to thinking about how we could give back any profits that may occur, we immediately thought of Light of Day, which is a major charity and has been for decades in Asbury Park.
Hmm. Cool.
They
Okay, so
sound
I
like
wanted
they're-
to ask about we talked about the I'm sorry, I'm blanking here. I'm gonna have to edit. Sorry.
That's all right.
Um, anyway, could you tell us a little bit about, and Susan, could you talk a little bit about what kind of discussion panels you're going to be on?
Yes. Go ahead, Kit.
Okay. Yeah, well, all right. Get comfortable. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm very.
There are 31 of them, so
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So
Kit's gonna be
buckle
on
up.
stage constantly. She'll be lucky if she gets a chance to eat,
Yeah,
and when she passes out, we'll revive her. And yes.
exactly. It'll be
There we
no
go.
no
that
problem. Yeah, I
reminds
think.
the SRR we need to get an IV.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, I'm just so honored to be taking part in this. I know, I speak for Susan as well. Ken has held so many great conferences before, and I know this will be no exception. Yeah, I'm going to be on panels both Friday and Saturday. One of them, Susan, I'll let her talk a little bit more about it in a second, but it's a panel about 1965, and I'll just leave it at that. And then I'm also doing, along with our good friends Ken Michaels and Darren DeVivo, we're doing a Talk More Talk
Very cool.
episode, and we will, if everything goes right, record it for a future episode, and it's going to be about, kind of bringing the solo years, kind of saying how Rubber Soul kind of foreshadows the solo years in many ways, and in terms of its experimentation and different, genre blending and that kind of thing. So, so looking forward to that. So that's Friday. Then Saturday, I'm going to be on a panel which is particularly near and dear to my heart because it's a Gen X panel. We're going to talk about how our experiences differ from others and how we experienced Rubber Soul when we first heard it. And really looking forward to that. And then in the afternoon, I'm part of a panel called 1965 and Beyond. And I'm going to be talking about, and I'm sure this will come as a surprise to no one, the soul of Rubber Soul, that I think gets overlooked. I think, when you mention Rubber Soul, people tend to think folk rock, and obviously that's a huge part of it. But, and people think, well, but, they stopped doing soul covers at this point, on their albums. There's plenty of soul on this album, and I'll be deconstructing, to borrow Scott's term, a few songs from that to show particularly the influence of Motown and Stax, because that's what they were listening to in 1965, among other things. But I think you'll be surprised at the touches of soul, the fingerprints are all over this album. So
that's great for all those who are attending. By the way, the program is November 6th through the 8th in Asbury Park, and I'm going to put the link on the notes for this podcast. So you guys, when you folks are downloading it, they'll be able to find the link and they can check it out and register to visit and to be with everybody during this festival. And I noted in reviewing the various discussions that are going on, the wealth of number of discussions. That's my primary interest when I go to these types of festivals. Just hearing what everybody's got to say about this or that, or this association with the music. And that's always the most fun for me. Susan, would you give us a little chat a little bit about what you're doing up there?
Yes.
Or down there or over there?
Kit's going to be part of this panel. So this is the thing she alluded to a couple of minutes ago. So we're doing a panel on 1965 and the road to Rubber Soul, what led up to the creation of the album. It actually starts in 1964, but I'm not going to give away too much. But it talks about where they were at the end of 64 until the album was released at the end of 65. And all the influences and all the ways that fans got information about new albums and where the evolution of the songs went. Because in many ways, Rubber Soul was, in every way, Rubber Soul was the first truly mature album that they produced. Everybody thought that it would just be, cuddly little mop tops as it was in 1964, and it wasn't. They started talking about more mature subjects. They started talking about love as an abstract concept, things like that. And we're going to be discussing various influences, including the influence on the Beatles and the influence the Beatles had on other music that was released, such as the Byrds. We're going to have a discussion about the cross-pollination with Bob Dylan. We're going to talk about the differences between the American and the British albums, because they are different. And a certain segment of fans who grew up at a certain time with vinyl only had the American album. That's the one I grew up on. And there's big differences. Pretty big when you think about what was not on the American one and what was on the American one. So we're going to discuss that. It's going to be myself, Kit, my husband Jim Ryan, Karen Duhai, and Janet Davis. We are all fixtures from the fest, so most people who come to this thing know us from the fest. And we do panels together all the time. So we're going to be doing this presentation, and then we're going to be throwing it out to the audience because we like to involve the audience in our discussions. So we're really looking forward to a productive and interesting analysis. We've been working very diligently on it, and it's coming along really well. And all I'm going to say is that I sometimes have to pinch myself that I'm in such illustrious company. I really feel honored that I get to do this with people who, know so much and can contribute so much. And I feel honored that I am asked to contribute as well. So I want to thank, Kit for being willing to be on a panel with me, and Ken for okaying this panel for this symposium. I've been to several of the conferences, 2 of the conferences that Ken has been a part of. In 2019, there was the 4-day White Album Conference at Monmouth University down the Jersey Shore. And that was one of the first academic conferences that I've been to, and the level of scholarship, just for anybody who's really interested in scholarship, the level of scholarship is in the stratosphere. This is amazing, amazing analysis, amazing discussion, and always amazing music. When you're hearing the music, like we were talking about, being made by other kinds of musicians. So hearing something, like you said, in the classical vein, or hearing something in the soul vein, or hearing something in a jazz vein, and the Beatles music translates to those genres very, very easily. And that's part of the discussion this coming weekend. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be in a city that is filled with musical history on its own. Asbury Park has the most amazing musical history, not just Bruce Springsteen. There is so much that Asbury Park has contributed to American popular music. And I think that having this conference spearheaded by Ken and colleagues of his from Monmouth and other places, and his Everything Fab 4 podcast, in this musically historic city, just adds to the ambiance. And I think we're in for a really, really excellent weekend. And it's going to be at a historic hotel right on the water. So that's kind of cool too.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, just today, Chris Jordan, who's a longtime reporter, reports on popular music and rock for the Asbury Park Press. I don't know if this is true, so I could be propagandizing, but here goes. Suggested to me that sometime in the early 1980s, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was at our hotel. So
Wow.
I'll tell you what, I'm researching that right now. I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And of course, the hotel they speak of is the Berkeley Oceanfront Hotel in Asbury Park. And so I'm looking forward to seeing pictures and videos and whatnot, so we can see what that's all about.
As soon as Ken, showed me the hotel and said it's near the ocean, I said, I'm there. I'm there, dude. Ocean.
Yes.
Kit tested the foods this summer on the boardwalk, just
Yes.
to make sure it met her very high standards, I might add.
Yep, I'm still fantasizing about that the lobster salad on the Texas toast. Oh my God.
There you go.
So good. So good.
That does sound good. I might just go just for that. And forget the festival. Just go for the food. Come on.
And I'll also say that so far, and I'm very happy about this, Ken, very happy about this. The weather forecast that I heard today says that there will not be a nor'easter next week.
Yay!
Oh, that's good, because today was pretty rough.
I know today was horrible here too, but I was looking at the weather forecast and it's supposed to be beautiful Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I'm thinking this is wonderful.
That's perfect. And just to mention, and Ken, you can elaborate about this too, that Susan was talking very rightly about all the scholarship that's going to be there, but a special thing about Ken's academic conferences is that he really not only welcomes scholars, but it's for a broad audience. I mean, this is not going to be a dry, people getting up and reading papers.
Not at all.
That's not what this is about. It's they're going to be multimedia presentations. There's going to be a lot of discussion. where everybody is welcome to contribute. And as we've talked about the music, I mean, it's really a different kind of conference. Don't you agree, Ken?
Yeah, we really strive, and you've been a part of this for a long time, and SRR too, and that is to really make these discussions accessible.
Yeah, there's another kid.
Yeah.
It's important that everybody be able to participate and have a voice in these conversations. So we like to have a lot of entry points for folks to be able to join in. And I thought we really pulled that off well with the White Album, and I think we'll do the same thing here with Rubber Soul.
Very cool. One of the things I like to bring up about the Rubber Soul album is that Ken had mentioned earlier the influence of Dylan, and Susan mentioned the Byrds. For me personally, I think the influence, I mean, certainly Dylan was the influence for them to start looking at their music in a bit more of a serious manner. But as far as the musicality of it, seems to me that it's a lot more Byrds influenced. And I was wondering, Susan, if you might want to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, our colleague Karen Duhai, who isn't here tonight, is going to be doing that part of the presentation that we're doing. But she pointed out rightly that the Byrds were influenced by the Beatles and the Beatles were influenced by the Byrds. And she has a couple of examples. I'm not going to give them away because I want people to come and hear the talk.
Absolutely.
But she has a couple of examples where the guitar parts are very similar, the percussion parts are very similar. And of course, if you know anything about the Byrds and you've ever seen or read or interviews with Roger McGuinn, and he talks about seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan wanting a 12-string Rickenbacker. This is just for him, it was an immediate sound thing, and he wanted to sound like that, like many musicians who became musicians after the Beatles arrived on our shores.
Right.
So, there's going to be a bit of a discussion about the similarity and interplay, basically. This influences that influences this, and how they sound similar and how they fed off each other. It's very interesting to see how the music at that time, generally, people were learning new ways to express themselves musically. So lots of bands were influencing each other, but the Beatles, of course, were influencing everybody. So it's really interesting kind of interplay to see how the bands influenced each other. Also, Bob Dylan, of course, influenced the Beatles in lots of ways.
Yep. Okay, cool. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Monmouth University, which of course I didn't say this at the top of the podcast because but most people that are watching or listening to this have some familiarity, at least, with Ken and Kit and Susan and some of their backgrounds. But I'd like to go a little bit about the Monmouth University, for which I think each of you are involved with. Ken is the director of some sort.
No, I'm a professor of English and popular music at Monmouth, and
I knew you were a professor. I wasn't sure if director was
I
also
used to
in
be
the title.
no, I used to be a dean of humanities and social sciences, and I'm happy to say now that I'm putting all my time into spreading the good word about education and music education in particular. I direct several programs for the university: our Tuesday night book club, our Tuesday night record club.
Yeah.
And our adult education programs. So we're doing everything we can to share education widely and frankly economically, so that there are plenty of inputs for folks. The university per se is not sponsoring the conference, but we do have several parts of the university that are acting in those kinds of roles. The Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music. And in fact, the executive director, Bob Santelli, is going to kick things off with an interview with Max Weinberg.
Very cool.
I have a feeling the words "rubber soul" will be uttered more than once. That'll be on Friday night, and they've just been huge partners in this program, and have made sure that they're advertising the event far and wide. They just came off of just a tremendous Born to Run celebration that I was very proud to be part of. And then our School for Humanities and Social Sciences is also part of things. Our dean will be there, chairing a session, no less. So, you know, we're connected in that way. But I mean, in general, it's the kind of work we want to do here, not just nationally, but internationally. And our university, it's been, my gosh, 8 years since Mr. Springsteen announced that we were his repository in January, I think, 2017. And, you know, we're working hard to make good on this privilege he's given us by creating as much programming as we can. You know, and this way is one way for us to give back to the community, create a forum for scholars, just like we did a couple of months ago with Born to Run. You know, so this is just part of a larger thrust, you know, where we want to make our name in this area and to celebrate really the transcendent possibilities of music. You know, SRR was talking about this a moment ago, the way that music binds people together and creates reflexive ways of thinking about art. I frankly think we need that more than ever, right? I mean, we need common languages. It's getting harder and harder to find those in our fractured world. And if loving Rubber Soul can be one of those ways, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If you can't connect over, you know, the great music on that record, whether it's the US or UK version, I don't think we've got much hope as a species. So I'm hoping for some really positive interactions and celebratory vibes this coming weekend.
Yeah.
Cool. We need that more than ever.
That's for
I would
sure.
And what I love about Rubber Soul is that I'm really a fan of the earlier Beatles period. I love that earlier sound. And so for me, Rubber Soul is the perfect album because it combines that earlier sound with what we're going to see in the hear and see in the future. And there's so much in there. And I think whether it's the US or the UK, I've gotten used to hearing the UK version the last number of years. But you know, I just think it's a very complete album, very, you know, it just sounds really good all the way through.
Yeah, there's going to be, I mean, this is an album that definitely lends itself to a conference because there is so much there.
Yes.
I mean, it's a transitional album for them, as Susan mentioned earlier about, you know, that it's, you know, they were getting into more sophisticated kind of lyric writing, experimenting more with arrangements, instrumentation. I mean, it's, you know, this is what I call, you know, the beginning of the Beatles 2.0, you know, where they're getting more into the studio and more into the avant-garde and that kind of thing. This is a very transitional album, but it also has so many classics on it. I mean, Norwegian Wood, Michelle, I mean, the list goes on, that there is so much to digest here and discuss.
Nowhere Man, right? I mean,
Nowhere Man,
harbinger
Nowhere Man, yeah.
of a whole selection of songs about looking out for the loneliest members of our population, right? You know, Nowhere Man, Lady Madonna, Eleanor Rigby.
Yeah.
You know, the list, it's quite a list, and the knowing ways that they write about loneliness, I find extremely moving.
Mm-hmm.
And
So don't you think that they were lonely very much in their own ways? I
Sure.
mean, they were very, they all were dealing with this whole quote, quote, Beatlemania thing, but only the four of them could experience it. And so very much in a way that they were very much alone.
I think that they were. I think that they, you know, they worked so hard to get to that point in their careers, and they really wanted to, you know, as Kit's podcast is called, the toppermost of the poppermost. You know, they wanted to get there. When they got there, after blood, sweat, tears, you know, they made themselves crazy getting there. It turned out to be, in a lot of ways, it was the pinnacle of success, but it was also incredibly lonely. And there were only four of them who knew what it was like. And you know, all four of them in various interviews over the years described it as the eye of the hurricane, the calm while everything was swirling around them. But just because it was calm didn't mean that it wasn't, you know, desperately alone too, even though there were four of them. In fact, if it was probably a good thing that there were four of them, because if there was only one of them, it would have been really bad. I can't even imagine. They had each other to lean on, and if they didn't, it could have broken them as a single person, and it didn't, but with Rubber Soul, especially as we've been talking about, it is transitional. It's one of these things that takes you from the mop tops to the sophistication of things like Revolver and Sergeant Pepper. It's middle era Beatles, it's not all cutesy poo, but it's not all really sophisticated either.
Right.
But there's a level there that they're reaching towards, and you can see what's coming. Of course, we have the benefit of 2020 hindsight,
Insight.
but they probably in some intuitive way knew what was coming.
Well, let's take a look at what John Lennon used to say about by 1965, he called it his Fat Elvis period. Because he had gone through the whole Beatlemania thing, all that craziness. Now they'd gotten to a point. Now what's next?
Yeah.
Now I'm a little embarrassed by some of the lyrics we wrote a couple of years ago. Now I'm not quite sure what my next step is going to be. Now I'm not so sure about my composing partner. Am I writing with him, or am I writing by myself?
Yeah.
And so it's a very strange dynamic that they were approaching.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the rise of George Harrison here, I
Yes.
think. I mean, I want to tell you,
Yeah.
I think that's a great song, and with those dissonant piano chords. I mean, he was,
Oh yeah.
he was really growing
Yes.
as a songwriter as well. And you see some of the hints, kind of like what Susan was saying, of the summer of '67 with songs like The Word, particularly.
Yeah.
One of my
And that's that stuff I was talking about love as an abstract concept.
Yeah.
It's not I love you, you love me, we love each other, love, love, love. It's not that.
Yep.
It's love as a universal concept. It's love as something bigger than love between two people.
The word. Love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is
Capital letters.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's definitely that's something that I don't think pop songs tackled too much prior to that. There were certainly songs that were socially conscious, and certainly songs that did touch upon that, but they were not as common as the boy meets girl, hug, hug, kiss, kiss love songs, which that's not. It's not to say that there aren't any of those on Rubber Soul too. I mean, Michelle is pretty much, it's a love song. It's like, oh, you're a beautiful girl and I don't know how to talk to you. That's kind of, but there's stuff on this album that is more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
Well, like Norwegian Wood.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. You listen to that. There's nothing that sounds like it now. And the lyrics are so abstract. It's this very mysterious story. I mean, we kind of know the story behind it, but the way it's written, it's poetry, kind of like Eleanor Rigby.
And the sitar.
And the sitar.
I mean, where did that come from? I mean, that was almost brand new. Nobody was using sitar. Maybe did the Rolling Stones use sitar before the Beatles, or was it very just close?
After it was after.
So, yeah.
But it also opened the door for other bands to be able to use exotic instruments, and with the Rolling Stones, of course, Brian Jones had the interest in those instruments, so he had the license to do it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely that's another bit of sophistication. Let's try some interesting instruments. Let's see how this sounds. And they weren't afraid to do that. But it also belies the fact that they now had the ability to ask for stuff in the studio and control what they wanted, which they didn't have at the beginning. No group had that at the beginning. But the Beatles now were starting to get the power to say, we want to try this, we want to do this, we want it to sound like this. And people listened. George Martin definitely listened. And
I mean, you think a guy with a different ego might not have said, you know what, boys, we're doing it my way.
Exactly.
And we're going to get a hit record out. And you're going to sing this, and you're going to, do the song that I want you to play. And Ringo, maybe you're not going to play on this one. We're going to have Paul play drums or whatever. He's going to direct it the way he wants to. He had respect for what all four Beatles were contributing to the band, and to make sure that they they made the record that they wanted to make.
Yeah, they were
So,
lucky that they had
very
it.
lucky.
Yeah.
It all comes down to all the people involved, you know.
Hmm.
So I want to ask you a little bit about now we have this upcoming fest again November 6th through November 8th. And you know, I'm fortunate to attend a good number of these types of festivals. And I'm immediately delighted that we have Fest for Beatles fans. We've had Fab Fest in
Mhm.
North Carolina. We have the Beatles on the beach,
Mm.
right? There's another one called Abbey Road on the River.
Yeah.
Right.
That's another one. And then we have this one here coming up, Everything Fab 4, which I've now said correctly 4 times now. Uh, so, but it's just it's delightful to know that the audience continues to support, go out and want to discuss and be part of these festivals. And the Beatles are so much alive.
Yes.
It makes you feel so good.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that the future is festivals like this one. There's also international festivals happening. There's festivals that happen in Holland and and I think Ken is going to be there too. End of January, beginning of February, there's a Beatles festival in Kinsale, Ireland, in the southeast of Ireland. And I went to it last year, and it's very different from an American festival, completely different. The whole town is involved. It's your perfect little Irish town, exactly what
Yeah.
you would picture. But even there's this sense of love of the group, love of the music, and wanting to share that with other people who have the passion. And I think that all these festivals just go to show you that the Beatles are timeless, and that people are interested. People want to be close to the music, and it makes them feel close to them, and it makes them feel close to other fans. So I think no matter where these festivals happen, whether it's Europe or America or Canada or wherever, there's this sense of family and camaraderie surrounding this music.
Yeah.
You know, it unites us. And I'm grateful for it. I'm very grateful for it.
It's a community.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No matter, it doesn't have to be a particular grouping, but it's so many people all over the world. It's the Beatles community,
Mhm.
And it kept us together when we couldn't get together in person. It kept us together.
right?
Right.
Right.
Because
Right.
during the pandemic, and community is a great word. That's a word that I started using around that time. It
We
was
probably
not,
stole it from you.
yeah, it was not, no, I don't think so, but it was not just groups of fans. It was the Beatles community. And I could say my Beatles community. And I love that. I love that people are coming to this festival next week. I love that people go to the other festivals all over the world, because I think this music is important, and I think that it's never gonna die as long as there is, you know, the cliche where they say, as long as one person remembers you, you're never gonna really be dead. As
Mhm.
long as one person remembers this stuff, and believe me, there's a lot more than one person,
Oh yeah.
it
Yeah.
will never
These
die.
people have ears. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's it.
exactly.
All you need
So-
is years, right? That's it.
So, so Ken, yeah, right, very good. Ken, you know, Ed just mentioned, you know, all and Susan, all the different festivals. So, how do you think you know, what can people expect from yours your fest that is different
Yeah.
than the other festivals out there? What can people expect?
Well, I hope they can expect something that is open and inviting, and they feel like they can be a part of it. I mean, that is, I think it's been something that's important to all 4 of us here, is that the Beatles and studying them as egalitarian. I was so proud of folks at the White Album on the university's campus. Believe it or not, 7 years ago at this
Yeah.
point.
Wow.
I'm so proud that people went to sessions, right, and didn't just pick and choose, but enjoyed the entire thing and the whole enterprise of thinking deeply about something, right? I mean, that's whatever you study, that's what makes it interesting, whether you study episodic television or you study fine art, ballet. You know, the
Mhm.
ability to dig deeply and think deeply about it is what makes it so special. right?
Yeah.
And, you know, at a certain level, to have your mind changed and discover something new and different about something maybe you've loved your whole life, and to hear it in a new and exciting way. And hopefully that's what we'll be pulling off this weekend, this next
For
weekend.
sure.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Or this
Very cool.
weekend too. Why, we can learn today.
That's right.
Every day.
That's
Every
right. You don't
day.
need some structure to learn. Crack open those books.
If you're not learning every day of your life, then you're missing something, you know?
That's right,
Really is,
SRR. That's right.
Very
But
cool.
I've also felt like history, I've always been a history buff, you know, but this is a chance to make history real,
Hmm.
you know, and take this passion and have it be taken seriously and learn. Because I think that every time you think, I've been a Beatles fan, this is my 50th year as a Beatles fan, okay? And every time I think I probably
We got to
know-
get a cake for that, Kit.
Yeah, absolutely.
and every time I think that I know a lot, there's always like 20 things that I didn't know. And I think as long as you're learning and discovering something new in something you already love and have the passion for, how could you lose?
Because you have a
You
sense
know?
of wonder.
Yeah.
And with that sense
so,
of wonder, then you can always be looking for something new in what you love and what you know.
Yeah.
What you
I do
think you
have
know.
to bow out in a moment, Ed, but I will give you a really powerful example of what we can do with this music that I didn't see coming. And it happened a year ago in my fall 2024 Beatles class. Um, and it was very early on in the semester. I showed a video that I'd made with my friend Jason Krupa about uh, the wonderful song, The Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And just a way to bring it to life. And I've been incorporating the last few years different kind of technologies in class so the students can go tell their own stories. So I'm showing them an example of how one might do this. And I didn't think another thing of it. Obviously, I didn't play the song again because it's a Beatles class, not a George Harrison solo album class. So we didn't come back to any solo material after that. But I got my comments at the end of the semester, and I'm scrolling through them to see how I did or what I need to do better, you know, however that happens to go. And this one kid wrote, "I have to thank you. You gave me my favorite song."
How
Wow.
about that, huh?
And he goes, I listen to it every day and it brings me joy and I think about it and I love thinking about it. And he wrote, I don't know how I would have found this if I didn't take this course.
That's awesome.
That's
And
so
Doing
cool.
your
it is
job.
because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Is to
Yes.
help pass on the gift because you never know when you could be opening a door for someone that changes their life and gives them that gift. And we all have these songs, maybe that's one of them, right? That we
Yeah.
cherish and we can't imagine living and breathing without.
Yeah.
And I'm really thrilled that that brief moment in time helped this one guy
Yeah.
find a song that is giving him joy, right? And
But sometimes teaching can be a thankless position. But to have that
well,
moment
it's
and that
mostly thankful, but
gratitude,
yeah, it
that's
really
beautiful though.
it blew my mind.
Yeah, man, that's
Absolutely.
great.
It's like,
It's and I think all of us right here right now can talk about specifically about the Beatles, how this music generally, and I think it's awesome that that's the song that changed this kid's life. That's
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
But I think about, and I'm sure Ken and Kit and you, Ed, think about this too. My life would be so different without this.
yeah.
mhm.
I would not have the life I have, and I like my life.
That's
You
cool.
know,
So great.
and to be able to say this brought me joy and this brought me the life I have that I love.
Yeah,
And that's everything. That's
Yeah.
everything.
that's right.
You know, and so, you know, the more fans get together and the more fans participate in various festivals and symposia, the better.
Yep.
Because
Cool.
all it takes is for one kid, right, to listen to a song and like that Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp and say, I love
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And it
yeah, yeah.
literally can change a life.
Yep.
Where's
Sure.
that been all my life?
Yeah.
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 That's
But
wonderful.
it's amazing And I
Yeah.
think it speaks volumes about music generally, and it speaks massive volumes about the Beatles specifically.
Yeah.
That they
Yes.
have and had the power to change lives.
Cool. I'm going to ask Ken to give us a little bit of a uh, brief bio. We know that Ken is an author of many books, including the more recent, the Mal Evans book, Living the Beatles Legend, and all the work he does with Monmouth University and so forth. If there's something you want to add to that, Ken, or where people can find you, so I know you have to. I know you said you have
Sure.
to skip out.
I'm at everythingfab4.com, and all you have to do is go there, and there's a big button for our event, and we hope that folks will come and join us. And I'm thrilled to say that we are providing students with free access to this event.
Oh, great.
And including students, if they go with a parent who go to, for example, any of the local music academies in our area, they're welcome to come for free, but also Monmouth students, both undergraduate and graduate, will be there. And, you know, this is, in addition to giving back with the light of day, this is how we're able to hopefully stimulate some discoveries for them.
Very cool.
Right
Very
on.
cool. Okay, and Susan, we know that Susan sponsors a Walking Through New York Beatles tour,
Yes.
and she's a panelist on many different things, Beatles oriented and so forth. Always a delightful guest and
Thank you.
classmate with me and things like that. And
Yeah,
so
we've taken classes together. Kit's taught those classes, and Ken's taught those classes.
yeah. And so
Yeah,
anything you want to add, you want to share where people can
Sure.
contact you, or
It's Fab4 NYC Walking Tours. If you look that up, it's fab4nyctours.weebly.com. And you can schedule a tour with me. I do them by appointment. You can find me at a lot of festivals. If you've been to the Fest for Beatles fans over the years, you know that I am one of the moderators in the discussion room, and I'm running around like all weekend and being stopped in the hallway by 1,000 people. But you know, and also enjoying taking classes through Monmouth. I've been taking classes that Kit's been teaching and enjoying them very, very much.
Yeah.
Learning a lot about different genres of music. And yeah, I mean, I'm proud to be part of this festival, and you know, thrilled to be included in illustrious company. So and if you want to set up a tour with me, or if you look up Susan Ryan Beatles, like there's 100 million Susan Ryans online. If you because let's face it, it's a common name, but if you put in the keyword Beatles, I'll pop right up to the top. You'll find me.
Definitely, and I definitely want to arrange that tour, so I'll get back to you on that.
Absolutely.
And lastly, we have the queen of all Beatles media, we have our Kid O'Toole, and who and Susan and I both been uh, 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 grateful to be able to take your classes through Monmouth University on different music genres. She's written the book, the songs we were singing, the guide to lesser known Beatles tracks, and a lot of other things. And so, Kit, can you just take it away, give a little burb? If you can limit it down to 15 minutes, that'd be great.
Yeah, don't worry. I can do way better than that. I can do better than that. But yes, you can find me at kidotoole.com. You can find my two shows, Talk More Talk, Solo Beatles Videocast at talkmoretalk.com. The podcast that I co-host, Toppermost the Poppermost, which traces the Beatles' history on the charts as well as other artists who were on the charts at the same time as they were. They have some kind of connection to them at toppermostofthepoppermost.net. And as you mentioned, Ken, Susan, and Ed are not only great friends, but two star students.
Thank you.
They really are. And I love teaching these classes. I'll be teaching another one in December, part 2 of Disco Inferno. And then in January, I'll be teaching history of 60s girl groups.
That should be fun.
So
Very
you can
cool.
find all that info on Facebook and on my website.
Very good. And I just want to say that, Susan mentioned earlier about being fortunate to be around a lot of these a lot of people in the community and getting so much from each other. I'm lucky to be part of this with all of you and to be able to listen
thank you.
to each of you, and you're sharing your expertise and with me, and it's a real thrill. And so I want to thank everyone who listens and watches our podcast, Ed's Pop-O-Matic podcast. We are available on YouTube for the full video podcast, and I'm very fortunate that my recent show on the Monkeys, new edition of the Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Ltd. Super Deluxe version has 219 viewers, which is now the top of the poppermost of my of our videos, and so I'm very pleased and thankful to the audience for checking that out. And I want to thank everybody for going out and supporting the Everything Fab 4 event this coming in November, and everybody that's associated to here tonight, Ken and Kit and Susan. Thank you very much for joining Ed's Pop-O-Matic podcast where everything retro beats the new. You keep it in your heart. So have a very nice evening. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you for having us, Ed.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ed.
Ed.
Excellent.
Stop recording.
If you